Basics of algebra. In this short introduction, I'm going to explain to you what algebra is and why it's so important in mathematics. Algebra is the branch of mathematics where letters are used to represent numbers or act as a placeholder for a number. In mathematics, you know numbers equal a certain value. 1 is 1. 5 is 5. Sometimes in algebra you see things like a or x. That's because that a or that x is used to actually represent a number. But why? There are two different reasons. The first one is to represent a number that we don't know what its value is. In other words, an unknown. Here I've set up an example where a plus 6 equals 8. Now, I know you must be shouting out what the answer for a is. That's how far you've come. For someone who's never seen algebra for first time, they won't know what's going on. In this situation, a is used to represent a number, to which in this form you don't know what it is. In other words, an unknown. After some mathematical manipulation will you know what a is. The other way algebra is used is to show a value in a formula where it can change. In other words, a variable. When something is variable, it can change its value. It's the opposite of what we call a constant. So for example, the perimeter in the formula for the perimeter of a square, the formula is 4 times s, where s represents the side length of the square. In different squares, the side length may differ. You will not get the same length for a side length for different squares. However, the formula for the perimeter of a square remains the same. So that's why s can be used to represent that side measurement, despite it can still change. So the formula remains the same, but the number can change. Hence why a letter can be used to represent. One thing that's important to note is while the letters represent numbers, they still follow mathematical laws. To use an example, the number 0, if you had, for example, 0 divided by x, the answer will always remain 0 because of the rule that 0 divided by any number will give you 0. While any number divided by 0, so in other words x divided by 0, will always be undefined.